First and foremost, there has to be active listening. And what does active listening means? That means, ladies, let's not listen so we can get our word in. Let's let them speak and let's truly hear them. I'm sharing what I know to be true. Thank you for being here. Let's go within. On today's episode, I'm switching it up a little bit. Okay, I'm switching it up just a little bit here. I took some time to really think about, what do I know best? Like, what am I great at? Like, what do I want to share in the podcast and on content, and what do I want to like really bring to my audience so that they find me? Now, I know what my end game is, right? And I was like, but let me like really segment my social media in a way that I think is going to make a little bit more sense, because the reality is most of us are multi-hyphenate, and most of us know how to do a lot of different things, and we have expertise in a lot of different things. And I thought about, like, on a real tip, outside of business, what do I know? I was like, what have I done on the slide that most people don't know about? And the reality is, I've kept multiple friends in relationships, taught them how to be healthier in their relationships. I've actually helped people keep their relationships together that turned into marriages that are still together. I'm like a quasi, not quite matchmaker, but I would say your girlfriend, homegirl, therapist next door who done been through it and know it and is able to teach. And I also I had a class over 10 years ago called Manifest, with a capital MAN, Manifest. Because I had a class where I taught women how to manifest the man that they wanted, how to date properly, and how to also get the ring. You know what I mean? I also talked to women about like what do men like, the 5 types of women that there are, and the 2 types that men tend to marry. And I had men come in to actually talk to the women on a panel to discuss these various things. And we did role playing, we did all kind of fun stuff. So in the light of all that, I thought to myself, what are some things that I can truly teach women and men, but really I'm speaking to the women here, that could be extremely helpful for them to just grow in their relationships. You know, the game has changed quite a bit since I was married and divorced. The game has changed quite a bit over the last decade, but I was like, I got some stuff to teach around love and relationships. So today we're going to talk about the art of making a man feel safe. You're safe. All right. And I wanted to talk about this because the thing that I often hear about a lot from men is that, you know, they don't feel safe with women. They feel like we're going to share things that they've told us, use it against them, like all these various things. And so I did something earlier today, actually before I did this video, because I was like, I don't want to be a fraud out here sharing this information. I need to know if what I'm sharing is accurate. I literally reached out to a couple of my exes and said, hey, and even guys that I just briefly dated who I never was like serious with or anything, and said, can you let me know honestly if I made you feel safe? And if so, what did I do that made you feel safe? And overwhelmingly the response was yes. You made me feel safe. Or I only knew you for a short period of time, but in our conversations you made me feel really safe, and this is why. And so I was like, you know what? Let me talk to the ladies about this, because this is a very real thing. And you know what? I just want to start here. Like, ladies, have you ever had a guy who's pulled away from you? Have you ever had a guy that shut down? They don't really feel open to you. If you have, I want you to hear this. A man will only be vulnerable in a space where he truly feels safe. And this goes for men and women, but I'm just, like I said, we're talking to the ladies. And if you can master making him feel safe, you will unlock a level of connection, love, and trust that will lead you down the path of where you truly want to go with this guy. So today I'm going to actually talk about 5 ways to create a safe space with a man, and 5 ways to make a man feel seen, heard, and valued in a way where he literally craves being close to you. All right. And the first things first is active listening. Now, how many of you ladies, let's be honest, how many of you guys have been talking to a guy, and as soon as he's done sharing his story, instead of you truly responding and asking him more questions about his story, asking him more questions to get a clearer answer on what he's just said. How many of you jump into your story and try to match what he just said? If he says, oh, I bought my first car when I was 16, you jump in and say, oh yeah, I bought my first car when I was 17. How many of you guys do that? That has been such a bad habit of mine. And the reality is, we women, we are communicators, we're talkers. So of course, we're going to want to share and want to dive in with the man. But the reality is we got to allow them space to just share what they want to share. Something I learned is that a lot of men have grown up where they've had mothers who have silenced them, mothers who didn't really listen to them, overtalk them. They really didn't have a voice to share what they wanted, what they needed, what their thoughts were. And they had a father, or may not have had a father, but if they had a father, the father really was shut down emotionally too and emotionally disconnected. So they didn't really learn how to step into speaking and sharing and being open and vulnerable with their father as well. So now they're grown men who desperately actually need to have a space where they can share things and talk, even though they don't feel comfortable doing it and they don't think they really need it. The reality is they do. And when you provide that space where they can just talk, they will flood open like water, okay? Like they will just drown you in their conversation, because a lot of them grew up where they weren't able to truly share. And with that, I even do that with my son. My son's 18. I make a point to just pause and listen, because I used to find myself like butting in and add my little 2 cents. And I'm like, no, it's not about me being his parent. It's about me being a feminine energy in his life that cares about him, loves him, and actually wants him to feel seen and heard. All right. But there's a such thing as truly active listening. And when I say listen, I don't mean just waiting for your turn to speak. I mean fully being present, no interruptions, no but what about me moments, no need to fix or even to analyze, just listen. Erykah Badu said something once. An interviewer asked her, how do you get these men, sis? Like, you always got a good man, you're always in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I listen to him. It's that simple. And I was like, it is that simple. Men aren't always the best at expressing emotions, and often they've been taught to suppress them. But when they do open up, it's quite a big deal. Your job as the female energy, the feminine energy in their life, is to show that you're engaged. Show that you care. Nod, smile, maintain eye contact. Let him know that you understand him. And I would even say repeat back some of the things that he says to you, so that he can know that you're actually paying attention to what he has to say. All right? And he will start to trust you if you do that. He will know that you're not here to judge, you're here to listen to him, and that will gain the trust that is needed to have a sustaining and long-term relationship, if that's what you're after. Number 2, never, ever, 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 ever use what a man tells you against him. Never use what a man tells you against him. If he says to you that something happened to him in his childhood that was heart-wrenching and breaks his heart, if you ever have an inkling of using that against him or bringing that up in a very sensitive moment or saying it to people or sharing that information to people outside of him, he will never truly trust you again. That will never like, unless you guys go through counseling and really dig into it and you truly atone, he will never trust you again. Like, the relationship is a wrap. And if he chooses to stay with you, he's staying more so out of comfort, and probably because he doesn't think he can do better, or he doesn't have a high self-esteem as an individual. And so how you treat him, he accepts it because he probably, again, had a parent who treated him the same way, where he didn't feel heard and he didn't feel seen. Only a man who has a level of self-esteem and strength about himself will say, I don't need this, and will actually walk away from someone who uses their most sensitive and vulnerable moments against them. It's interesting because I've had someone use things against me. Not a man. I actually have never had any man that I've been with use things that I've gone through against me, because it's not really stuff that you can really use against me. But I had a family member who decided to take a very vulnerable moment from my childhood and like throw it in my face in a very antagonizing, negative way. And I knew, like, wow, if she does this to me, she definitely has done this to every man that she's been with, hence why she doesn't have one. That is a very toxic, dark spirited trait. And yes, people can say, oh, I was hurt. That's why I said that. But the reality is, you got to do better at making people feel like you love them enough not to use those things against them. I don't care what they do. The greatest revenge for somebody who's hurt you is not to hurt them back and stab them back. The greatest revenge is to glow up away from them, with them over there. That's the greatest revenge. Is to walk away quietly and in peace and grace and to shine your butt off. They will always think about you. They will always desire you and want you. And they will forever be kicking themselves in the behind for letting you go. And that's literally them kicking themselves in the behind is gonna like hurt worse than any kicking that you can do. But with that, if a man is vulnerable with you, if he shares his fears, past trauma, his struggles, his insecurities, you cannot weaponize it. You cannot use it as a weapon, like you just can't. The second he feels like it's used as bullets in a gun against him, the second he feels like it's ammunition, he's gonna stop opening up to you. And the crazy thing is, once one woman does that to a man, men tend to have a hard time opening up to any woman truly after that. Like, they just have a hard time doing it. And it sucks, but it's like, one woman can ruin one good man for all women. So we as women, if we even care about other women, let's not break these men. Because a lot of these broken men is because a woman broke them. Just like a lot of broken women is because a man broke them, whether it started with their father or their mother or somewhere else. The next thing I want to say is, like, don't take things personally. The third thing is, like, don't take things personally. So usually when somebody is in a relationship with someone, one perspective that really helped me in dealing with my partners was, you know what, his behavior sometimes, whether he couldn't show up consistently, whether he was never on time, whether he didn't know how to properly communicate, whether he wasn't romantic, whatever it was that I perceived to be a lack, right? I realized that that's not personal to me. That's a him issue. Now, I can take it personal and become antagonizing and negative and angry and bitter about it. I can decide that he's withholding from me personally and really take that personal. Or I can say, you know, this is who this person is. He might be going through something. His behavior and how he responds to things truly may just be what he's been taught in his life and may have worked for him. And if it doesn't work for me, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna step back and have a conversation with him and say, when you behave like this and you have this mood, this is how that may have made me feel. Now, I'm not internalizing what you've done. That is something against me, but I want you to know that this is how that feels to the people around you. And if it's something that you can fix, maybe it's something that you should fix, you know, for the ease of everybody around you. Now, if they just have moods and attitudes because of work, things like that, let them have their moments, right? Don't take it personal. Let them have their moments. They're not always going to be perfect. They're not always going to be in the best mood. And that's just life. Women, we go through so many moods in any given month, and that's just how life is. We want men to give us the space, whether it's an excuse or an explanation for our behavior. We also have to know that men have moods and things too, and it's just not personal to us. Another thing that's a great tactic for making a man feel safe is to incorporate physical touch. Adding physical touch in a conversation is wonderful. Brushing him on his shoulder. If he has a beard, rubbing him at the bottom of his beard while he's talking. Rubbing his hands. Basically, you telling his body that I'm here with you, I'm present with you, I like you, I love you, I can feel you, and I'm engaging with you in this moment, and I'm present here with you in this moment. Sometimes our minds can check out of a conversation when we're talking with somebody. Trust me, I've done it. My mind is way over here thinking about something else. But if we pause and we touch, excuse me, Oh my goodness. If we pause and we touch them, it engages them and us back into the moment. When we have eye contact and just show them that, hey, I'm here, I'm right here, I like you, I feel you, that helps them drop their defenses. Even the hardest men, and trust me, I've been with a couple, even the hardest man, he can be an athlete or whatever, and he's tough and big and burly, and even the hardest men will melt at the right woman's touch. So adding touch in with the conversation, it signals a subconscious comfort to them. It makes them feel like, all right, this feels good, Humans crave intimacy, even beyond sex. Most humans crave just intimacy. And intimacy is offering and being in connection with touch. Last but not least, encourage and support without the you should, you could, right? So the last but not least is like encourage him in the way that he feels with support and not pressure. Now, there's some people out there, there's some relationships I've seen where the woman is a raging maniac with a man. She gets him to do any and everything she wants through force, through she kind of like she's aggressive with the man. And because if a man hasn't had a healthy relationship with his mother, and if he hadn't had a healthy relationship with women, period, and his self-esteem is low, he's gonna take a woman being aggressive and abusive and nagging and nah, you said I told you to do this and you're gonna do it. You said you're gonna do it. He's gonna take that kind of aggression because he has a low self-esteem as a man. But if you have a man who does not have a low self-esteem, definitely don't treat him that way. Definitely don't treat him the way, no, you should, you could. No, it is, hey babe, I know you're going through things. I know whether it's your job, whether it's society, whether it's politics, whether it's money, whether it's something physical, your health, your mental health, something going on with a family member, something going on with your children, something going on with there's a myriad of things that could be going wrong at any given time. Don't tell him what he should be doing. Instead, hey babe, inquire with him what he thinks he could be doing in a situation. Inquire with him what he thinks he can do in a situation. Empower him to see broader around the situation. Empower him to feel like he can tackle the situation without it taking too much from him. And also, some men buckle under pressure. So instead of pressuring him, really ask him, why does he make a decision to do X versus Y? Inquire with him on what has worked in the past and what does he think he should do next. And instead of saying you should do this or you could do better, really say, you know what, I know you did this in the past. I love how you handled these situations. And you know what, I think that this other way may work a little bit better, but let's talk about it. It's almost like you guys are working on this together and you're sort of lending him your assistance without being the forceful hand. And ladies out there, for those who have a man who actually does have a low self-esteem, instead of moving with aggression with him, because eventually he's going to get tired of that, instead of moving with aggression, learn how to move with him with grace. Learn how to talk to him with a level of softness, because you exerting all that force is draining for you whether you know it or not. Honey, all that rigmarole ages you, okay? So instead of moving with so much force, move with the level of, you know what, babe, I know that, things have happened this way in the past, but I want to do something different, and I want to ask you, how would you like for me to talk to you and deal with you when things are tough and you're going through things? Or if I need something or want something from you, what's the best way to have that happen without me feeling like I'm nagging and having to pressure you to get something done? You would be surprised when you talk to people sometime how you're able to find out what they need and what they want. How can you better support them in their own journey? Because the truth is, you guys may be doing this together, but they're doing it on their own first. All right, they're doing it on their own first. So, coming to a close, in the art of making a man feel safe, if you do active listening, like I mentioned before, never, ever, ever using what he tells you against him. Don't take things personally. Allow for space for growth, all right? Incorporating physical touch into your conversations, and also engaging and supporting versus the you should and you coulds. You are going to not only find a relationship that is safe, but it's going to be a relationship that's inviting for growth, right? It's going to be companionship that feels like, you know what? We ain't perfect. Neither one of us are perfect, and perfection is not what we're chasing after. But if we incorporate these 5 things here, you know what? We may end up being so deeply in love with one another, so, collectively a unit, that the only way to go is up from here. It's up. And in a very unsafe world, the best thing you can do is to make sure that your partner feels safe. Thank you for joining me here at the Phoenix Effect. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I know it's a little different from where I have been going before, but I hope you like it. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts. Let me know if you've tried any of these tactics and if they've worked for you in the past. I appreciate you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.